Baghdad, Iraq, December 30th, 2006. The room is dim, cold, and silent. Concrete walls. A single bulb sways overhead. In the middle, a thick rope, hanging above a trapdoor. Saddam Hussein stands beneath it, hands bound, hair gray, beard unkempt. Just 3 years earlier, he was president of Iraq. Now, he's moments from execution. "You can go to hell," one masked man spits. Saddam looks him in the eye and says calmly, "Iraq is hell." He begins to recite the Islamic declaration of faith. Halfway through the third recitation, a lever is pulled, the trap door drops, and just like that, the man who ruled Iraq through terror is gone, ending his life in a dark basement at the end of a rope. But here's the part most people miss. Saddam wasn't overthrown for the crimes that earned him the death penalty. The US toppled him because of weapons he didn't have, and terrorist connections that never existed. Saddam's fall wasn't just the end of a brutal leader. It triggered a wave of violence and instability that changed the Middle East. A war meant to stop terror ended up spreading it and costing hundreds of thousands of lives. Baghdad, 2006. Saddam sits in a courtroom. Across from him is Judge Rauf Abdul Rahman, a man with a personal reason to be there. Back in 1988, Saddam ordered a gas attack on the Kurdish town of Halabja. Thousands died, including members of the judge's own family. Now, nearly 20 years later, Abdul Rahman reads the verdict, death by hanging. Saddam curses the court, but no one is afraid of him anymore. September 11th, 2001, terrorists attack the US. Nearly 3,000 people die. America strikes back, first in Afghanistan, but soon attention shifts to Iraq. Saddam was already seen as a villain. He'd invaded neighbors, used chemical weapons, and defied the UN. President George W. Bush claimed Saddam had weapons of mass destruction and was tied to Al-Qaeda. But the truth? Saddam feared Islamic extremists, and Iraq's weapons programs were long gone. Still in 2003, the US invaded Iraq. The invasion was quick. Baghdad fell. Saddam vanished. His sons, Uday and Qusay, fled north with Saddam's 14-year-old grandson. They hid in Mosul with a tribal ally, but their host got nervous. He quietly struck a deal with US forces. The next day, American troops surrounded the house. Inside, the brothers refused to surrender. A fierce 4-hour battle followed. Gunfire, grenades, rockets. When the dust cleared, only one defender remained, the teenage grandson. He fired at soldiers. He missed. They didn't. Saddam's sons and his legacy were gone. With his heirs dead, Saddam went into hiding. He moved constantly, living in safe houses, surrounded by loyalists. Meanwhile, the US disbanded the Iraqi military. Suddenly, hundreds of thousands of trained men were out of work and angry. Chaos spread. Insurgent groups and Al-Qaeda fighters poured in. Then, a tip came in from one of Saddam's messengers. In December 2003, US forces raided a small farm near Tikrit. Under a rug, they found a hatch, and inside it, a man in a hole. Saddam was pulled out, dirty, tired, defeated. The man who once lived in palaces was now caught living underground. The Americans had their man. But the violence didn't stop. Saddam's trial dragged on. Iraq spiraled further into chaos. Over 200,000 civilians would die as a result of the war. Millions more lost homes, healthcare, or access to clean water. The US had promised liberation. What came instead was civil war and collapse. In the rubble, some Iraqis began to look back on Saddam's regime, not fondly, but with complicated memories. Compared to the bloodshed that followed, some even missed the stability of fear. History doesn't cancel itself out. One evil doesn't erase another. Yes, Saddam was a tyrant, but the war that removed him was built on lies. And when truth and fiction mix, people forget the facts. Scroll through social media today and you'll find something strange. Young people praising Saddam, not because they understand his crimes, but because they've seen what came after. After his capture, Saddam was asked by FBI agents if he regretted what he had done. His answer? No. And so he died without remorse. But the war that ended him, that war still isn't over.